Essentially, yeah. I think, like I give an example. My product was like a vegetable slicing type of product, the one that sold literally sold over 100,000 units, right? So that was like a vegetable slicing type of product. And then what ended up happening is, like I got that product and I was got in at the right time, right product, the right time, got in, and it had my own logo on there. And then what ended up happening is I kind of evolved the product over time, right? So for example, I improved the logo firstly, and then I improved the packaging, and then loads of other people started selling that same product. And then what I said is, how can I differentiate? How can I be better than them? So then I thought, okay, I need a cleaning brush with this product. So I did a cleaning brush. So then other people added a cleaning brush. And then what I thought is, okay, I need a package and a pouch because maybe people want to keep it more safe and don't want the box. Then other people started doing that. Then I thought, okay, it's a vegetable slicer. Why would people use this product? Because they want to lose weight, right? So I put a...
We're going to take you to 10x levels if it's money, time, connections.
What's up, everyone? Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode. In this episode, it's a special episode. I have a new guest. So, you know how we're transitioning from concentrating on, getting customers. We're more focusing on how to acquire wealth, and not just wealth that we have for a short time. What we want to do is we want to be able to make money, make money, save money, and invest it so that we can actually keep it for a long time, right? If you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a car, you want to do it properly so that you're not living for it, but you've built an income that it pays for it, and then you can just enjoy it. So on today's episode, we have a very special guest. Our first guest from Europe, specifically from United Kingdom. So welcome, Haroon.
Thank you so much, brother, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome, man. So, you're our first guest from Europe. We've never had someone from there, so it's super exciting. Most of our guests are from United States and Canada. So, we're really looking forward to talk to you about some of the successes that you've had in Europe, right? It's a completely different environment, different industry. So we're excited to learn about how you've been running your businesses and some of the successes you've had. So let's start off with some of the things that you're currently doing. Actually, before there, how has COVID affected your business?
COVID's affected my business quite a lot in different ways. So just so obviously the audience that's listening that hasn't listened to me before, there's two main areas that I focus on, right? So I have built a $1 million business in e-commerce, selling products online. And the other business that I've had is an agency in which people that want to learn my process, I basically have a team that does it for them as well, right? So both of them are essentially a 7-figure business. I built the e-commerce business to 7 figures. Also, I've got 2 Comma Club with the work that I'm doing on that high ticket agency aspect as well. So when it comes down to the how did COVID kind of affect it? From an e-commerce perspective, it affected it quite a lot initially. Because obviously, when we're sending products abroad and things like that, there's quite a few restrictions. But I think we got through it quite comfortably, and it didn't really have a massive impact where it really stopped me completely from doing what I needed to do.
Right. So that's really massive success to you. You have 2 businesses, both doing 7 figures. Which one did you start off with?
It was the e-commerce side. Yeah.
Okay. And what industry are you in for the e-commerce?
So I focus on being very broad. I focus on going where the money is. So when we're talking about launching products, I don't have a specific niche or whatever. I go out there, test as many products and basically see what is working and then take it from there.
Okay. So now, is that the business that you got the 2 Comma Club award from ClickFunnels?
No. So that was there's a difference with my e-commerce side and then the agency side. So it's the agency that went and got the 2 Comma Club award.
Okay. And can you clarify? So your agency, is that the coaching business?
Yeah, so it's kind of coaching. It's a little bit more than just coaching. So what is kind of different is like other people out there, they'd be like, okay, here's a course, go and learn how to do an e-commerce business. What I focus on doing is actually building it for people, getting it up and running so it starts generating income for them within what we aim to do is to get that within 30 days. So it's more like a kind of done for you service, if that makes sense.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so that's amazing. So, so you started off with the e-commerce, and then like, did you realize other people like needed the help, or like someone came up to you like, hey, I want to do this as well?
Yeah, of course. So what ended up happening is when I'll kind of jump a bit from the beginning. So kind of growing up, I was kind of, especially my educational kind of journey, I was pretty much a failure at everything I'd done, right? In my schools, I used to get D's and F's for everything. And for me, I just wasn't happy with the mindset of I need to get a big education, get a job, work myself up, and then pretty much live my whole life in a job when I can do that with my own business. So I had this desire inbuilt within me initially that I wanted to have my own business. So what ended up happening is I was working for a charity organization, was going well, but then I was getting married, having kids, and I'm like, okay, I need to start increasing my wealth now. How do I do that? I can't go to a charity and say, give me more money. I felt almost bad to do that, right? So that's when I started dabbling into, all right, how do I make money? And I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that are in that position. So I went online, did some research, saw what's out there. And for me, I started off by kind of just taking out free information and just trying to figure it out of my own. So my first business, I looked at, okay, there's a big opportunity here. Let me develop my own product. I developed a supplement brand. Took me about 6 months finding suppliers, designing the product, getting it all ready, and it completely failed. It absolutely flopped, right? And and I'm like, was really disappointed at that time. So what ended up happening is I ended up seeing another program that was there and available where I thought, okay, this is a course that teaches me how to do it properly. Let me find the success blueprint. Let me find somebody that has the results I want. Let me see what their success path is, and let me follow those actions. So at that time, I was on a minimum wage job. I invested in this program, which is about $6,000, which was, mind blowing. Even my wife was like, don't do it. You're going to lose money. What if there's scams, these things? And obviously family are there because they love you. They don't want you to get hurt. So business is a challenge sometimes, right? So I made the decision. I took that knowledge, and within a year, from being in a position in being in a minimum wage job, I built a business that done 1 million in sales within its first year, right? So that was the kind of aspect. So then when I started doing it and people started seeing me, oh, look what he's doing, look how the results he's getting, that's when people started coming to me and saying, can you also help me out, right? Kind of going back to your question. So people started coming to me, asking me how to do it. And then what ended up happening is I ended up building a small community that was literally collectively doing 1 million a month in sales with the businesses that I was helping them with, right? Absolutely mind blowing. So like 1 million a month they were generating. Literally, I asked them, what was your monthly stats? I literally totaled it. I'm like, that's crazy, right? That's amazing. So that's where the both sides went. I was building my e-commerce business and I was building, supporting other people in doing it as well.
Awesome. So, when you start seeing all the success, that you were getting, like, what was your goal? Like, were you showing it to like people? Like, were you like putting on your Instagram page? Were you like, making videos and showing, how much money you were actually making per month to people to get people to actually come to you?
Yeah, so what ended up happening is I ended up becoming an affiliate for the course that I got results in, right? And for me, it's like when people saw that, they saw, okay, this guy's genuine. He's paid it himself. He's been the guinea pig essentially to see if it works or not. And so what ended up happening initially as an affiliate, I just kind of went around, messaged people I knew who wants in, made a few little videos. I didn't even know what I was doing at that time. I was making a tripod with boxes with a really rubbish camera. And I just said, look, this is what I've done. This is what I've achieved. Who's in? Come into the program. I'll help you out. Right. And then because that initial group of people, may have been about 30, 50 people, I can't even remember, did so well. The time when that program launched again, I did another campaign where I pushed it even harder with a bit more advertising budget now. And basically, out of, I don't know, maybe hundreds of affiliates, I was top three. So I generated 1.8 million in sales of that program, which is around maybe, I don't know, 300 to 500 students, coming in.
Right. And like just going back, right? The program you're talking about is ClickFunnels, right?
No, it's not a ClickFunnels. So this is a program that was based upon selling products online. So they don't really have it now available, but it wasn't ClickFunnels. So the kind of difference was when I started to promote this as an affiliate initially, I was using the ClickFunnels service, right? So that's how it kind of built up in that aspect as well.
Okay. So you mentioned, like you got into entrepreneurship, you were trying all these things out. Was this were you like doing this before you got married, or it was after you got married?
This no, this was after I got married. So yeah, so before that, like I said, I kind of went through the educational route. I was kind of volunteering for a charity. Then they offered me a position, and
Yeah.
that's where I kind of was at that time. Yeah.
Okay, so before you got married, you didn't have any entrepreneurial experience. You never
Yeah.
tried anything entrepreneurial.
No, I think it was a little bit in my nature. So one of the things is like when I was at school, I was trying to sell things at school, right? I kind of had that little kind of hustle mindset of what can I make a little bit of money with, right? And I was kind of dabbling a little bit at that point. So and I kind of see that. I see when there's kind of, and I'm assuming a lot of people that are going to be listening to this right now, it's kind of like an inbuilt kind of identity within them that they're going to be entrepreneurs, right? It was just that one thing that was there. Like I speak to people and they're working in a 9 to 5 job and like, oh, that's nice, that would be nice to do. There's a difference between somebody's like, oh, that'd be nice to have a business, and there's a difference between the second person who's like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I'm actually going to make this work. They have that inbuilt vision. It's very clear. The decision is made. They don't know how they're going to do it. They don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to get there one way or another, if that makes sense. And I think that's the kind of character that I had at that point.
Okay, so when you got married, was it something that your wife was trying to influence you? Like, hey, we need more income, or you realized yourself that you needed more income, so
Yeah.
the charity route wasn't going to do it. You were probably going to have to step it up.
I think it was my own decision. I think it was my own decision, and I felt like and like when I was working at the charity, and I'll give you an example, right? There was a period of time that I had my own personal issues, yeah, and I had the personal issues to the point where it was a whole period of a month where I didn't feel that I was doing the job the way I needed to do it, right? And for me, I had a feeling of guilt that there's people that have donated to this charity organization, and I'm getting a salary working there, but I'm not able to give what I need to give because of my personal situation at that time, right? So I even went to my manager at that time and I said to him, look, I'm going through a lot of personal issues. I've not worked properly this month. Don't give me a salary, right? And he goes, look, I have to. You've got a family and so on and so forth. So that's, there were little moments like that where I felt like, no, I need to kind of figure this out for myself. And I need to kind of have that additional income. And for me, it was just a side income at that time. It was like, let me figure something out on the side that can kind of increase me, right? And the fact that I got such high results so quickly kind of got me to the point where I said, let me kind of leave, right? And going to the point, like my wife was never really saying yes or no. She just like, cool, I don't think she really stopped me in any way or kind of pushed me at that time. But I think what my point was is that when you and people listening, I'm sure some of them will kind of resonate with this, is when there's a decision to be made about business, let's say investing in a course or a program, and if they have to consult their spouse or other member or their parents or other members of their family, their consultation is normally like, don't do it. Okay. Don't do it. And the main reason why is because not because they don't want you to succeed, but because they love you and they understand that business is risky, there's loss, and they don't want you to go into any harm aspect, right? So there needs to be a mindset developed that, you know what, even if I lose out, even whenever there's a decision to be made, even if I lose out, if the worst case scenario happens, I'll survive, I'll handle it, and I'll move forward and move forward from there. And you have to have that mindset going into business. You're gonna fail, you're gonna lose money, but and you're gonna put your money into things that are not gonna work. But within those mistakes, there's gonna be those 1, 2, 3 things that are gonna accelerate you to get the results that you want in life.
Okay, awesome, man. So, like everything you're saying is just, I mean, it's just so nice to hear, like you're making it so realistic, right? Like your family might not, understand, what you're trying to do. And that's okay, right? Because they haven't seen your vision. You have a certain vision and you're trying to get closer to, right? Did you have someone in your like someone in your family or your close friends that were in business that were helping you like get this build this vision? Because when someone else has done it, so for you, it becomes more realistic.
Hmm. I don't think so. I never like I've got four older sisters, right? I'm the baby in the family. I'm the only son, right? So my dad actually had a business. He actually set up a cab service that he had. And I kind of saw that as like, okay, look, he's built something, but I don't think that's where I really took my aspiration from. I think where the aspiration really came was from the pain of really failing at school, right? Like I remember times when, for example, even in my, obviously there you've got different names. In my primary school when I was really young, I wanted to read a certain book where I wanted to just see what it is, and the teacher stopped me to say, no, these are color coded based upon your intelligence. You can't read this because it's this color, go on that side, right? So there was these experiences that I went through that made me believe in my mind that I'm not good enough and that I can't achieve what I want, right? And what that ended up doing is it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where I knew I was going to fail at everything, so I failed at everything, right? And then at the same time I knew, like, okay, I need to do something in my life, and maybe business is it. And one thing I really liked at the time was cars. I had a bit of a vision to say, let me start buying and selling cars, right? And I actually started buying DVDs on how to do that, right? And I don't know, I was like a teenager at that time. So I think it was just I think it kind of came from the pain of not feeling that I was good enough, and that being a driving force to me to go and prove myself. I think that's what it is.
Awesome, man. So yeah, so you set your own targets and your own accomplishments that you wanted to get. So now let's try to slow it down and actually like go in how you got into business. So you're doing bad in school, you go in charity, and you don't feel like you want to take money because it's a donation thing, so you want to provide more for your family, and you feel like you can't do it from your job. So like you said, you started a supplement business. So can you walk us through exactly like what did you do? Like you went online, you searched for something, and then how did you become a part of their affiliates?
Yeah. So the kind of journey was a strange one because I was kind of just dabbling online to see what there is. I don't know how I did it. I don't know if I searched something, but it's kind of, they talk about the law of attraction, right? When you've got something that you're looking for, that thing starts coming in front of you because you start it's always been there, but you start recognizing it more, right? So for example, I started looking into things, maybe signing up to things. And I remember there was this one service um, that I signed up for, like an online marketing service, whatever it is. And it was just absolute rubbish. And I thought, oh, I need to cancel it and I need to get a refund. And I completely forgot to do it, right? And they ended up sending me an email about, oh, here is this opportunity to sell things on products online. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Let me check this out. So literally, if I cancel, then I maybe have never been here at this moment, right? The funniest things, how things plan out. But point being is, so what happened there is I started watching the videos of content of other people and what they were offering and their model. And for example, when there's a kind of, let's say, a course or an opportunity out there, there's normally free content, right? There's free content and they teach you the model and they teach you kind of basic foundation of how they do what they do. So at that time, I had a very kind of poverty mindset, which is, I'm not going to spend thousands of pounds on these guys. That's just ridiculous. I'll just take the free information and figure it out myself. And by me trying to figure it out on myself, that's when I kind of failed, right? And that's when I kind of learned the importance of investing in yourself and actually investing in your learning. And I was listening to somebody, and what his analysis was is the people that were being successful and actually achieved something, they had a moment where they put it all in, and they had um, uh, a kind of force that was pushing him to succeed, that got them in a position where they couldn't go back, right? And his analysis was that it was at the point when they invested a lot of money into the training, right? So I think that's definitely a big factor. But that was the kind of journey of me learning and the kind of road I kind of took from there, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So you're learning stuff from, for marketing and stuff, and a lot of people, especially listening in this audience, right? They want to get an extra income, right? And they want to get something passive as well, right? So we love that idea, like not having to actually work, and punch in, punch out, and get money online. It's really nice for them to be able to relate to someone who's actually done it, right? Who's done it already. So
Mhm.
you said you're trying all these stuff, right? How did it start working? How did you start getting results?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think the big thing was learning from somebody rather than trying to figuring it out myself, right? I think the fact that I invested and I had a process now to follow that worked, that is the difference between, failure and success for me at that point in time.
Okay, so that's something that really differentiated, right? Because you found someone who was already successful, and then you mentioned you paid him like $6,000 for
Yeah.
that was a course or that was coaching?
It was a course. There was a
Of
course,
course.
yeah.
Oh wow, okay. And
Yeah.
all these things that you're doing, is it from the UK or is it in the United States?
So what I'm doing at this moment in time.
No, what you were doing before.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. So, no, I think it was quite global. So, from a perspective of the selling online, it was at a global level, and the people that I started helping were also at a global level as well. Yeah.
okay. How did you find your first person or for the first course that you paid for $6,000? How did you know like that money you were gonna spend was like a good commitment that you're ready to make?
Um, that's a good question. I think I consumed enough information for me to feel that that was the right decision, and for me to kind of just analyze it. And second thing was that at that point, as mentioned, 6 months prior, I tested it out myself, right? So I saw, okay, this does have potential. And the way I normally make a decision, and I don't know if it's the right one or the right or wrong way to go about it. I just have a gut feeling. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead with this, right? And there's been so many times where by just me making it one decision, it's changed everything in the course of everything. So I'm I'm willing to take risks. I'm willing to go all in. I'm willing to jump into something, and willing to take the hit if things go the way they don't go, and I'm willing to handle that situation. So I think by just me analyzing, I just had the gut feeling to say, out of everything, out of all the opportunities I've got, out of all my analysis, I feel this is right. Let me go in and do it.
Okay. So what was the course and what did it teach you?
So the course was it's called Amazing Selling Machine. Okay, and what it initially started teaching is, and I don't think they do the course at this moment, but I'm not sure at this moment. But it was all about how to find products, how to source them, how to build your own brand, and how to start selling them online, essentially. So that was the foundation, that I was working with at that point.
Okay. So this course that you paid for, this person who made that course, he was already successful?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
And did you have any other friends who took this course or you went in alone?
I went in I think I'm pretty sure. In fact, I did have a friend that we kind of went in together initially, but I don't think he kind of carried on with it, whereas I did. So I kind of took it on board and I just kind of built my own thing from it. But at that time I was a bit of a lone wolf going into it.
Okay. And that's kind of like scary, for someone to spend $6,000. Was it like you said you didn't really feel comfortable, taking money from the charity, right? Like how did you try to save up like this money and use it for a course?
I think I just was able to have the savings there at the time. So I think even I was trying to sell things, if I remember correctly, that I had that I wasn't using, just to kind of raise a bit of extra capital for the business. Um, and yeah, I just had to kind of hustle my way into it, figure it out. I can't, yeah, I think I just pretty much scraped what I had and tried to sell a few things and just make it from there.
Okay, so yeah, that's good. At least you're able to save because when you're starting out, right, all you're doing is you're spending money is just going away, right? You're not
Yeah,
able to keep anything.
yeah.
Um, how were you able to like spend money and then also like save it on the side? How did you have that mindset that you need to do both? You can't just spend money and it just goes away. You need to be able to keep some money.
Of course, yeah. I think like one of the things is a lot of people generally, and this is maybe a side point, which is some people say, oh, I want to do a business and they're not working, they're not in a job, right? And the first thing they need is they need an income to be coming in, right? So if you're in a position that you're listening to this and you want to do business, figure out getting a job. That has to be a foundation. You need money coming in, right? And I had that aspect. And I think because I was quite young at that age and I was still kind of staying at my parents, because I was kind of newly married, I was staying at my parents and so forth. So I never really had a huge cost on my head at that time, if that makes sense. So I was in a position where I was making money. I didn't have too much costs. So that kind of allowed me to accumulate a bit of extra money that I needed to do what I needed to do, if that makes sense.
Wow, that's so smart. Like I just recently wrote a book called Broke to Six Figure Secrets, and in that book, I teach that for you to get into business or investment or into stock or real estate, you need to have an income source, and then you need to break it up.
Yeah.
Some for investment, some for expenses, and some you need to be able to save so that you can invest. It's hard in the beginning, right? But when you keep saving on the side, eventually you don't think about it, right? You only think about the money that you are using for your expenses. So that way, the money that you save, you forget about it, and then you can just focus on investing, and the money that you have from your job, right, you can focus on paying for expenses.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So okay, so you build your first brand store for e-commerce from this course. Is it successful?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The first thing you built, it was successful right from the
No,
top.
it was. Oh, okay. So from the perspective of launching products, um, like you know, I I did analysis and I was going through the process of learning how to select the right products. And I like you need a cash cow, right? And this is one thing that I feel that is important, especially when you're coming into business. You need that one thing that really propels for you to get to that next level, right? So my initial product that I tested, and maybe I can't remember if I must have tested a few different products, but there was one product that really just blew up, right? On Amazon, and that was the platform that I was selling on that time. It was doing, I had a product that was doing hundreds in sales, right, on a daily basis. So it was absolutely crushing it, right? So that kind of propelled me to then be able to raise the capital to then go over to do other things and so forth, right? So I think that was a strange thing about it. Like when I was doing it myself, I was failing, but when I kind of got the right information, I think one part of it is being smart and analyzing and taking and doing a kind of launching products with the right understanding and taking your best shot at it. And there's a level of maybe chance as well. Okay, a small bit of chance that look, you're there at the right time. That's what you saw and kind of got there as well. So I think it's a bit of both. And I think the more action you just take, the more you launch, the more essentially input you give, the more output you're going to get essentially. So yeah, I think yeah. So I got good results fairly fast. Put it that way.
Okay, so you mentioned that when you were doing it alone, it didn't really work, but when you got some coaching from this course, it worked. So what was the differentiator that actually, when you were doing it alone, it wasn't working, but when you did it with this course, it helped? What was that thing that made it work?
I think it's the information on how to do it properly. That was the main thing. Like, for example, like I'll give an example, right? Just yesterday, I had a client that was working with us. Just started working with us from yesterday, and he showed me his website. He showed me his products, and he done the same thing that I did, which is trying to figure out by himself. And I said, the reason why you're not succeeding is your website's not right, your products are not right, your marketing strategy is not right. And that was the same thing with me. Like when you try to figure things out, like some people say, oh, I can get the same information on YouTube, or I can just go out there. And yeah, you can, but there's a big difference on that and actually buying something where somebody has a process and a system to follow, right? So I think that's where the big difference kind of came from.
Right, right. And it makes sense, right? When someone puts that much effort into a course, right, they make it really good because they want it to sell. They want to help people, right?
Exactly, yeah.
On YouTube, you can make all these videos, but it's just that you want to get views. But I just feel like in course, like people put way more effort because they want to get that result, and it's like a very small audience.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned now, you were launching products. So were these products that were already existing, and you would be just like you'd be another person, and you would sell the same product, or were you actually creating new products?
Mm. So my strategies kind of changed since then, and there's certain reasons why that maybe we can discuss as we go. But at that time, I was developing. It was what you call private label products. Okay, so at that point, I was looking at what is doing well, what's their demand of, and then I was going and buying the products wholesale. And then putting my own logo on it and then selling it there on the Amazon platform, right? What I do now, which is a little bit different now, is going down the Shopify route. And the reason why I don't sell on Amazon anymore is because number one is they own you basically, right? So they can shut you down for the smallest of reasons, even if you've got $1 million business. I've seen it happen to many people, right? And the second thing is there is a lot of upfront cost to buy stock that you may not be able to sell, so the risk is higher. Whereas the method that I use now is by using my own platform. So I'm in control and I'm building a brand and I'm building a mailing list and an asset that I can sell. But also we focus on the drop shipping model. So that what that basically means is people come on our store, purchase a product from us, and then we get the supplier to send the product to the customer for us. So we don't need to spend thousands of pounds on stock. We only buy stock once we're getting sales, right? So that is the kind of evolution that we've kind of gone through. But that's where we were there at that point. Like Amazon at that time, and this is back in 2013, 14, was more newer. It was much more open, and it was a great opportunity at that time for a lot of people to do well. Now it's a lot harder. And now, from what I can see in my analysis, having your own store and marketing your own products in that way is a much better route at this stage, right? So that is what we focus on at this moment.
Right. So thank you for simplifying, what private label was and what drop shipping was, and explaining the process in detail for the viewers who are interested or would like to get this. I want to actually you've like inspired a lot of questions in my head. So I want to break it down now. So we'll go through the Amazon, and then we'll move slowly to Shopify from like as it was from your journey. So you started off with Amazon. So you said a private label. So for example, you want to buy, I don't know, like you see a certain t-shirt that's being sold really well, and it's like, I don't know, like a brand selling it. So what you do is you put your own logo on the shirt, and you sell the same shirt on Amazon.
Essentially, yeah. I think like I give an example. My product was like a vegetable slicing type of product, the one that sold literally sold over 100,000 units, right? So that was like a vegetable slicing type of product. And then what ended up happening is like I got that product and I was got in at the right time, right product, the right time, got in, and it had my own logo on there. And then what ended up happening is I kind of evolved the product over time, right? So, for example, I improved the logo firstly, and then I improved the packaging, and then loads of other people started selling that same product, and then what I said is, how can I differentiate? How can I be better than them? So then I thought, okay, I need a cleaning brush with this product. So I added a cleaning brush. So then other people added a cleaning brush. And then what I thought is, okay, I need a package and a pouch because maybe people want to keep it more safe and don't want the box. Then other people started doing that. Then I thought, okay, it's a vegetable slicer. Why would people use this product? Because they want to lose weight, right? So I put a little booklet that I made on foods that they can make. Then I made a booklet on other recipes they can use with the product, right? So my product was evolving and I was making sure I was ahead of the game, with this product, with everyone else that was trying to come in and take a piece of the pie, right? And that is what I feel was the reason that I was ahead of the game compared to everyone else. Like, especially everyone listening, when you have a business and it's working well, you're going to get competition. You're going to have other people coming in. So you've got to evolve. You've got to adapt with time to keep on improving and keep on really ensuring that you crush it and you're ahead of everyone else.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that example. Amazing how you kept coming and thinking about your audience, right? Like you knew your audience, you knew what their needs were and what they were having trouble with. Was
Yeah.
it because you ordered the product yourself and you tried to see what was wrong with it?
I did do that as well. So, for example, when I ordered it, I realized there were certain areas were quite weak and were broken. So I had to then, or not necessarily, they weren't broken, but they could break easily, right? And I thought, okay, some customers may have this issue, and then some did end up having that issue. So then I contacted my supplier and I said to them, look, this is a problem. And the supplier went and essentially created a version 2 to make sure that that fault was corrected as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, you're starting a business, like brand new, right? You got this course. How are you finding a supplier? Is it local? Is it from another country?
Yeah, so it's from another country. So China's the area where you're going to find products being made, right? So when you're in the private label aspect, you're going to use Alibaba.com, right? That's where you go in and you find suppliers that you can buy in bulk. Now I don't use Alibaba, I use AliExpress. Okay, so the difference is you don't buy in bulk, you just buy one unit, but at a cheaper price, so that you can make a margin when selling it to the customer.
Okay, and these suppliers, like you tell them you want to put your own logo on it and they do it for you?
Correct. Yeah. So they often have a minimum order quantity of maybe 100 units, 250 units, 500 units, different things for different products. But yeah, they will put the logo on for you. Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people are afraid, right? Because they don't speak the language, they've never seen the product. What is the chance that, like they send a product to a client and they haven't verified that it's actually a good product or it's a correct product, and clients are just receiving the wrong products?
Yeah. So when you're using Alibaba or AliExpress, you can analyze the company and look at their past experience on, have they got a good history essentially, right? So that's one of the indicators. The second thing is when you do talk to them, a good amount of them do end up speaking English or kind of even at least broken English, but there is some level of communication there, right? And then what you can do is you can ask them for pictures. I've had suppliers literally do a whole video of their whole warehouse for me, showing me everything in detail, showing me the product, showing me how it's packaged. So I'm fairly confident, when that product is going to the customer, they are getting the right product and at a quality level.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So, that creates assurance. When you were selling this product, was it making a lot of money? Was it like a small amount? Like, was it like life changing, to tell you to continue doing it? Yeah, was it like profitable selling this
Yeah.
salad slicer?
Yeah, 100%. So it was obviously I had other products as well, but let's just take this one as an example. So um, you know, let's say I did 1 million in sales within the year, a good maybe at that time, I can't remember exactly, 20% profit, 20%, 20 to 25% was probably profit coming off that. So I was comfortably making a good amount, like I said, 100 sales a day, a couple of hundred a day, sometimes at $5 profit, for example, per sale. That's it was coming up at higher amounts. So I can't remember the maths off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
definitely it was a life-changing point. 100%. Yeah.
And did you show like your family members the result, when you were getting this, or you're like, hey, let me just wait until I get even a bigger result?
I think no, I was showing it through the time, through the process, right? I was
Okay.
showing it through I was just exciting seeing, wow, like that's even real. So,
Yeah, it's amazing, how like just like a salad cutter, right, can change your life.
yeah.
But the thing is, you're helping people, right? The more people they help, the more people are gonna,
Yeah.
obviously
That's it.
become.
And that's the thing, like one product can change your life, right? And that's where the model that I have at the moment allows me to test loads of products without really risking a lot of money at all, because I don't need to buy the inventory. So I normally test about 30 products, and then at one time just to do an ad behind them, seeing what sells, and then getting the supplier to send them, and then you can scale that product now, to tens, hundreds of sales a day, and you can go down that route as well.
Okay, and your testing strategy, is it mostly with ads?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So we build our store on Shopify. We have a certain method on how we select our products to test, and then we use Facebook marketing to test and scale those products.
Okay, yeah. So it seems like it's a step-by-step process.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
so going back to the Amazon, Facebook private labeling, right? So you get success for one thing. How are you now like saying that, hey, this thing is working, but I'm gonna try other stuff as well?
Yeah, it was a bit of a so what ended up happening is I kind of felt that I was hitting a bit of a glass ceiling with the Amazon business. So it was doing over 1 million a year, whatever it was doing at the time. It was doing well. I kind of had somebody overlooking it and overshadowing it, testing more products, and maybe they weren't getting the exact results that I wanted at that time, right? And at the same time, I was obviously doing the other side, which was helping other people, and I was kind of enjoying that process as well, right? But then I thought, okay, I'm fairly new into business. Maybe there's other avenues out there, and there's other things to do, and really, that's when I thought, okay, let me go out there and network with other people, see what else is out there, and kind of see what other things I can get my feet into, right? In hindsight, it was a very bad thing to do. What I should have done is focused on carry on building the two businesses that I had at that point. But at that point, I kind of felt like I wanted something a little bit different. I wanted to test something else out, and that was the kind of decision that I was kind of going into at that point.
Okay. So when you made, your first success, like let's say you had, a couple of $1,000s now, were you taking this money and like spending it? Like you said, you had a dream of getting a car. Were you like trying to acquire cars, or were you like trying to invest back into the business?
Yeah, unfortunately, I kind of was probably spending a lot of it in a way I shouldn't, and I think that's kind of norm. What ends up happening is when people, like, I'll give you an example. When people win the lottery, um, a lot of them end up being broke within a couple of years because they don't have any intelligence on how to manage finances and money, right? And I think the same thing is when entrepreneurs get successful, and I've seen it time and time again, they initially lose the money fairly fast, right? And that's what ended up happening to me as well. Like, it's one thing is it's hard to make a lot of money, but it's even harder to keep it and grow it, right? So what ended up happening, I was kind of spending on certain things and buying certain things and kind of just wasting money. Just and I became very like I just felt like, oh, I've got loads of money, that's it, let me just put money everywhere and anywhere, and just was very careless about it, right? um and what should have happened is, investing money into things that are going to give you more money coming back, and then using that money to kind of fuel your lifestyle. In that way, you're not, you're building an asset that's giving you more money, and essentially you're not losing out on your money, right? Like, for example, let's say, for argument's sake, I bought let's say a supercar for £100,000, right? That now is a liability. I've got to pay for insurance, the depreciation. There's all these factors that I'm going to be losing out on that car now, right? I've got to pay for petrol, insurance, all those things. I could, so again, it's a depreciating asset to some point, right? So that's £100,000 liability that's not making me money, right? Whereas if I went and bought and invested £100,000 into something else, let's just say, for argument's sake, a property, then that £100,000 could be giving me the cash flow I need to then fund that car. Do you see my point, right? So then in that way, I'm kind of getting that car, and and by the end of the time that I don't need that car anymore, I've still got that 100K, property that I've got that's giving me the cash flow, right? And maybe that's even appreciated in value and stuff like that. So I realized that afterwards that that's what I should have been doing, but I think I just got a bit too comfortable thinking that, I've got money and I'm always gonna have it, and it's not gonna go away.
Right. So I love that, like I love talking about other entrepreneurs who have this mindset of investing and then having things, that are paid off because of the investment, and this is so important that, people that acquire some wealth, right? Like they get this secret. This is a secret of being able to hold on to your money. You said you got $100,000, you put it into a business, it makes profit, and then you use only that profit, right? So you essentially keep the 100,000. And as business owners and entrepreneurs, we know this, right? Because we've lost money and we don't want to lose anymore. So we only spend our profits. And so people who are not into business or not into entrepreneurship or just working a 9 to 5 job, right? And they just they spend whatever they earn, they will never be able to invest anything. They will never be able to grow because they're just spending everything they earn, right? And
Yeah.
it's the same, like you mentioned, like if you get the lottery, if you make $1 million, you just spend it, it's gone. So
Yeah.
I just love it how, we're able to think about investments first and then think about expenses.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So you got your car. It was $100,000 car. What car was it?
No, that was actually an example. So I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
actually, no. So I didn't actually buy the car. That was just for example's sake at that time. But yeah, there was a few that I've had like Audis and Mercs. No, I haven't really gone down the route of a supercar yet. But yeah. So yeah, no. So I think when I was spending a lot, I think what I realized is like, yes, I was spending on like a car or, for example, travel and all these things, but I was spending things that I didn't need to spend a lot of money on. Like, for example, I remember getting a kind of coach that I paid like 5,000 for, and they were like a newbie coach. I just didn't realize, and I just didn't really bother with it. And then I was just like, like I just spent £5,000 for what, right? Just to somebody else at that time that I realized afterwards wasn't that great at the what they were doing type of thing, right? So I was just making decisions that were just like, yeah, here's this thing, let me just put money there, and you realize money does go fairly fast from that point of view. So you need to have that sharp eye to analyze what's happening and where it's going and how to kind of have it long term, right?
Yeah.
And but like what ended up happening with me, just to kind of carry on my journey and my story, is like I said, at that time I was in a position where I was, um, I was like, okay, what else is there to do? I networked with a few other individuals that were known to be business people and high net worth individuals and so forth. And I kind of thought, let me put my energy there. And I put pretty much everything that I had in regards to working with these two partners, in regards to my finances. I put pretty much my businesses to aside to focus on them. One of them had a certain vision on what we could achieve. I kind of gave them the platform that I built to launch a certain business project. And what ended up happening is I literally put everything into it, my time, my money, everything, my businesses. And the two partners ended up getting into a massive dispute with each other, and the business basically fell apart, right? And that's where I got myself in a position where initially I had built myself up, and that is the point where I pretty much lost it all, and I lost, my everything that I had built at that point, right? And that was pretty much my lowest point in my life, I would say. Very difficult times, and that's why decisions are really important. That when you are successful, that you make the decisions to work with the right people and the right projects, and that's another topic as well.
Yeah, no worries. So, this was the network you were building for getting people to build their e-commerce stores and brands.
No, no, no. So this was separate. So what was happening? Like I already had that, and it was working well for the clients and so forth. So this was another project where, again, there was these two partners. One of them had a certain vision of something to create as a business, and I used my platform to go into that, and I believed in it at that time, which is why I put pretty much all my finances and my time and my money and effort. Like I said, the two business partners ended up getting into a massive dispute with each other, and the project went south essentially, right? So it wasn't to do with the e-commerce side, it wasn't to do with any of that aspect, but it was a decision at the time that I felt that was going to take me from where I am to a higher level. But because of what ended up happening with that specific project, it ended up making me kind of go the opposite way at that time, right? And kind of got me to a position where I pretty much had to start off from scratch again, right? And I realized, and this is where I'm really quite, like, when it comes down to when you do make money, like you said, you, saving that money and putting it in the right places is vital. And I personally feel like you need to have your own vehicle of investing. Like, don't just give money to other people to say, hey, go and invest my money somewhere, because again, they're now in control and your success is based upon them, right? So you don't know whether you're going to succeed or not, or they're going to succeed or not. So I made some bad decisions at that time, which resulted in me pretty much losing the finances that I had. And then from there I had to then come back into, all right, what is working right now. I've lost a lot of money, I've kind of gone from scratch, I've lost my businesses, I've lost the empire that I'd built at that stage. I now need to build myself back up, right? And that's when I started analyzing, do I go back into the Amazon space? And then I realized that that opportunity is much more challenging than it was when I started. Whereas at this moment, what I see is really working very well is the Shopify space and building your Shopify business and growing it from that perspective. So that is my main focus at the moment, and that's the kind of journey and the transition I've taken to kind of get there, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we'll start talking about that very soon. I just want to like just go back. You mentioned an example about coach. I'm pretty sure you lost a lot of people because in the United States, I'm not sure what you were referring to when you said coach. But if you can just clarify that, and also when you got your first success from Amazon, what is something that you purchased and that you regretted and like, oh no, this was a bad decision? Or what is something that you paid for that was very expensive?
Yeah, so I think what I had a bad habit of doing is like when it came down to a coach, meaning like somebody that talks to you to help you get a certain result, right? So this is like a high performance coach type of thing, right?
Okay.
But what I was doing is I was buying courses and investing into other courses and coaches and stuff and not following through with it, right? Because I just had the cash flow. I was like, they have this thing called shiny object syndrome where something excites you, so you just go into it, right? I started getting shiny object syndrome. I started just putting my money into other courses, other opportunities that were there, and I just never fulfilled it. Like I remember one guy, I bought his course, spent a couple of thousand, went through it, was really bad, didn't help me in any way, shape, or form. Didn't even bother asking for a refund, and I just lost a couple of £1,000, right? And it was just the mindset that I had at that point was not appreciating that money, right? And not really taking care of it and thinking that I'm kind of immune to losing out. Do you see my point? And then when I did go through that time when I lost all the money and lost everything and had to start again, that's when I was like, wow, like I need to think very differently. Like when I get myself back up, I can't be that careless. I need to make better financial decisions, if that makes sense. Right. To be honest, I didn't sit there buying a lot of materialistic things. I don't think I went down that route where, you know, uh, going all out and things like that. But I think it was just there were certain things that I would put my money in that I wouldn't, like a course, for example, that I wouldn't end up using at all and not benefiting me. And that's where a lot of wastage went.
Okay. When you were making this extra money, were you actually like improving the lifestyle of your family, or were you just like maintaining your lifestyle and just increasing and saving and investing?
No, no, I was increasing the kind of quality of living as well, like a nicer car, um, uh, living in a nicer place, traveling abroad, business class. So then, yeah, like I had that kind of increase in quality of life, you could say, right? Yeah, so I would say that was there as well. Yeah.
Okay, so when you were so when you were traveling business class, is it something that you always wanted to do? Is like a dream, a goal that you had?
100%. Yeah, I think it was, when you go on an aeroplane and you see like, you always have to walk past the business class first, and then you kind of go into the economy and you sit down and you're just squashed and whatnot. So you always like, it's like, why are they putting that in front of you, right? So it was always, I think it's a dream. It's a nice thing to have, like when you do that, it's nice to have. So yeah, for me, it was like when I first done it, I remember I was actually going to China, to the Canton Fair, where they to analyze their products and make friends with suppliers and go to factories and stuff. And I think that was the first time. And there was a guy that sat next to me. And again, I was much more younger at this age, in my kind of early 20s. And he just sat there, and I think he told me he had some business, and I can't remember, to do with cars and stuff. And he was like, "You're doing quite well from yourself, that at your age now you're in business class, right?" So I felt a sense of like, wow, I've achieved something big. So yeah, no, definitely there is that sense of achievement, and that desire. But I think generally you get, again, like when you do things enough time, that kind of kick kind of goes away, type of thing. Do you know? So I think that you do like, you get bored fairly quickly of certain things. So yeah, that's it really.
So you get bored of business class now.
No, so like I think what it is that like when you like how do I say what it is? Like what you realize is anybody that's made money, and you'll see this from people that have made a lot of money in general, they leave, they get all the things that they want, they have their fun and so forth, and then they're at the stage where that those things don't necessarily mean as much to them as they think, right? It's like, the first time I drove a Lamborghini, I was like so happy I'm driving a Lamborghini. And then by the end of the day, I was like, okay, that's it, it's done, right? So I think, to have it as a vision, like I want this quality of life, and I want to achieve this, and I want this kind, I want this. It's a good motivation and a good driver. But what I've seen and experienced, and I've seen with other people, is once they've achieved that, it's like there's a sense of like, okay, now what, and you then have to create a deeper meaning to do what you want to do, right? Like for me, what really motivates me is I love just building something that works, like going through the drive of the challenges that come with it, and just building something and learning and growing. Like that's what really excites me, so that's what really that I enjoy doing, more than probably now, doing it because of buying stuff and so forth, right? And I think, to be honest, I think where this is really coming from is when I went through the challenges of losing money. That's when I was kind of humbled, right? I was out there before that, driving business cars, sitting on yachts with, speaking to billionaires. Okay, I was, and I was in a position where if I went to a Lamborghini store, it's a matter of how many can I buy. And when I went into my most challenging times, I was in a position where, you know, I was struggling to afford even the basic stuff, right? So for me, I had to start again from there. But what that kind of got me to build is I want to be happy with what I have no matter what, right? And what I realized with myself is when I had a lot, okay, I still wasn't 100% happy because I thought there was more to have. So I think that money does buy you happiness. Of course it does. It gives you experiences and things that are going to make you happy, but it doesn't necessarily buy you peace of mind and peace of heart, right? So what I'm really focusing on is, for me, it's about building a life, a day-to-day life that I'm happy with, I'm comfortable with, irrelevant of how much money I have or don't know I have, irrelevant of what car I'm driving, irrelevant of what level I'm buying, traveling, whether it's economy or business. Like for me, that was a big thing back in the day when I started off. Like I needed a supercar, but now I'm like, if I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm enjoying my life and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm at peace with that, that for me is what is real richness to me. So, bit of a tangent there. Sorry.
No, no, it was good. Like we thank you for clarifying. You know what, like you got success, but you realized, the happiness wasn't in the materials. It was actually in the things that you wanted, besides financing. So a lot of people who are trying to earn money, right? We're trying to build our lifestyle, right? And we know that to build that lifestyle, you need the income. But once you get it, right, like you start focusing on things that really matter to you. And thank you for actually going in depth about that.
Yeah, I think you got to enjoy the process, right? Like, and you like, I think the issue was for me when I was starting off is I was in pain. Like I felt my life is not right, and I'm doing my business to make my life right, right? And to fix to fix, my life type of thing. And no matter how much success, because when I got success, I saw other people that have even more success than me, right? That were even much higher level. And that made me feel like I'm nothing, right? So I'm not going to be happy until I get that level, right? So essentially it was, I think as when you're starting off, you shouldn't have the emotional baggage that you're doing this to fix a problem or fix your life. You've got to figure your life out to ensure that you're happy, you're comfortable now. If there's emotional and negative things that are putting you through that discomfort, that is obviously one thing to analyze and to deal with. But you got to look at your day by day, right? How can I make this day my best day, irrelevant of my circumstances and my situation? And that's what's really going to end up allowing you to perform at the highest level, right? Like there's a mindset somebody can bring to say, I need to build a business because I'm broke, because I'm struggling, because I'm a loser, I'm this, right? And in my opinion, that's gonna carry too much emotional weight and stress that it's not as going to allow them to perform. Whereas if they come from more of a clear mind to say, you know what, right, I am where I am, but I'm just going to enjoy building this. Like I would love to do this. I'm going to build this project. My goal is to get to this amount. And every day you're grinding away, I'm plugging away. That's where you enjoy the process a lot more. So it is important to enjoy the process, and not be so attached to the outcome in a way that it can negatively affect your emotional state, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right. I completely understand what you're saying, right? Be happy with what you have, but you seek to get more, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think that's super important too. Like, especially like guys, right? Like for example, you want to get married, right? But to get married, like for example, a family, they ask you, you need to have money, you need to have a property, you need to have a job, you get all these checklists, right? It's actually very nice and humbling to see that, for you didn't probably have all these check marks, but you were still able to get married, right? Because you had confidence, you had a certain way of expressing yourself. So it doesn't mean that you need to have all these check marks that society puts on you, right, to actually be successful, right? You were still successful even before you got the finance, right? You had built your lifestyle, you had a family, and then you were actually doing it with the family that you had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think so. And I totally understand with the checklist. I think the checklist for me was going to university, right? I don't know if you call it college there or something, but there was like, here, for you to get married, the first thing, or what degree do you have, right? Where's your study background? So I needed to make sure that I completed everything. For me, it was a waste of time, but I get that point. And I think just one other side point as well, when it comes down to money, where I feel that people generally um, get caught up in is really trying to impress other people, right? So for me, it was one thing I realized about myself is like when I first started and I was like, I need a Lamborghini, I need this, I need that, right? To, when I look back at it, the only reason why I was kind of putting that there is because I felt that like I said previously, I needed to prove myself and other people that I can be achieving, right? And I can, I'm somebody that has achieved a lot. So when I was like failing at school, there was that drive, if you remember, that I said that I needed to prove myself and other people right, right? But then what I realized is that when your emotional state and your opinions of yourself is dependent on what other people think of you, you essentially become slaves to them, right? So if they say something that they don't like about you, they say something about you that something negative, it affects you emotionally in a negative way. Or if they praise you in a way, then again, their praise of, oh, that's a nice car, look at this guy, he's achieved so much. Again, it's you're getting validation. And one of the things that is very hard to do, that I think that if somebody is able to do that, is really free themselves of needing validation or appreciation from other people, whether good or bad. It takes you away from a slavery where you don't care about other people anymore, right? And that is the one of the most liberating things that anyone can ever do. Like when I went through as mentioned, and I think where I kind of really became strong in this is when I first started off, I was all about showing off and proving and looking, oh, look who I am, and I'm such an awesome guy and I've achieved so much, and really doing it because I just wanted to feel that people saw me in a good way, right? And then when I lost it all, and I went through that time when I lost everything with my businesses because of the situation that I had with my business partners, I got a lot of attack in the community that I had built because of that as well, right? And people were saying things about me in a negative way, this guy's this guy's that. And then that at that point really, I had to kind of detach myself from the opinions of other people, right? I knew in that scenario I never done anything wrong or anything in a bad way, and I knew what my intentions were, and things just played out the way they did. But other people's opinions were there, and you have to, especially in business, you're gonna come across people that are gonna, whether it's family, friends, or even online, that when they see you succeeding, they're gonna have that feeling in them that, oh, this guy's succeeding, he must be this, he must be that, or they feel internally a bit jealous at some point, right? And when you fail, and they see you in your low points, then they're gonna be there to kick you while you're down, right? So you've got to, you've got to not desire praise from people, and you've got not you at the same time, you can't really have people's negative opinions really affect you in any way. And you've got to have a mindset and develop a mindset that I don't care about other people. Obviously, to some people, to some level, you have to, but not the extremes, if you get my point, right? So you've got to kind of build that identity and that mindset of not being a slave to other people's opinions and letting other people's thoughts and opinions affect you emotionally, whether good or bad, if that makes sense.
Right, like going back to what you said, you're not letting people control the way you live your life based on what they think is going back to the checklist, right? Like what you need to do to be happy. You deciding for yourself what you're happy, even though
Exactly.
yeah. So
Exactly.
you said, you had a really a passion about, getting a Lamborghini and, things that people want in life, right? Like for a lot of people, getting a Lamborghini is like so unrealistic, right? They're working at a job, they earn a certain income, and the Lamborghini, right? Like to afford that, it's very far away, but they want it, right? Because it's expensive, it's fast, it's shiny, it's cool. So were you using these things as marketing so that, you can attract audience and actually help them build businesses?
No, I don't think I really did that. Not in my marketing campaigns and stuff like some people they put it in their marketing campaigns and saying, look at this car and stuff like that, right? I don't really do that in any way. Uh Obviously if I'm going in an experience where I'm driving a car and I've got a picture, maybe post something on Instagram, but even to be honest, I don't even do that now, right? Maybe I would have back in the day. But I've personally, like, I keep my success is a bit more to myself and a little bit more. I think I've kind of gone away from trying to impress people with things that I have or not. And as you know, so I and especially I don't want to be seen as, okay, look, I'm a guy with a Lamborghini this, or you should follow me. I think the knowledge and value you give to somebody is where they should start appreciating you, and by actioning the results, actioning the knowledge, they get results. That's really where the value is, right? So like I think when I did make quite a lot and in my initial stages, I think I had the desire to then, okay, go and buy a supercar and so forth. But I think the thing that stopped me was I didn't then started coming across the knowledge that you need to invest money as well, right? So I started to put things into like property and things like that to kind of give me that extra kind of cash flow and for me to start having that mindset. So that is one of the things that I did start doing. Instead of buying a car, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't buy a supercar. I ended up buying a property instead, for example, right? And stuff like that. So I think I did at some point, better late than never, start having that mindset. But yeah, so going back to your question again, like there is people that do show off their lifestyle um, to persuade people to buy from them, and to show, look at me. And there is some people that legitimately have a very high quality of standard and life, and maybe they've done that and that's fine. Some people, they don't, like they lease a car for a day and they show that, okay, look at, here's my car, and then come and buy from me, which is kind of misleading a little bit. But I just avoid all of that altogether, if that makes sense.
Okay. So a lot of people, they have some sort of marketing, right, to attract, people who want to have a certain life or certain goal, right? So what were some of the marketing results that you were showing people, to build that, initial 30 to 50 people audience?
My own results and the results of the people that I was helping. I think that's all you really need to show in your marketing, right? If you've got something that works, you get results from it. You can show that people that you've given it to, they've got results. No one cares about a car, So I think that's, yeah, I think that's it really. That was
Okay.
the that and I think that is why I became a top 3 affiliate, because of the fact that I was in a position where I was sharing my personal story and I had backed up proof of people that I was helping. So there was so much proof behind the concept that it was a no-brainer, right? And I think also I was kind of connecting with an audience that maybe other people were not connecting with. So, for example, you get a lot of maybe American looking men saying, "Hey, here's a business opportunity," whereas I was connecting with like the Asian community, that a lot of people, maybe there's not a lot of people that talk to the Asian community in that way. So it was a kind of a blue ocean experience, right? So it was like the right product to the right market, essentially. Do you see my point? So I think that's one of the reasons why it worked really well as well.
Okay, awesome, man. So, you were mentioning you were showing results. Were you like making videos and like, were you putting on a website, or were you putting on a Facebook page and running ads to it?
Yeah, I think that's when I kind of came and started understanding ClickFunnels and how to build funnels essentially. So I built $1 million funnel basically, right? So I understood, I think the processes have changed with time. So for example, in the initial stages, the style of selling things online were like Jeff Walker product launch formula, where you have like 3 video sequences and then a sales video, and that worked really well at a time. Then it kind of became Russell Brunson's perfect webinar formula style. And that is that worked well. I think what is working well right now is kind of call booking funnels. So essentially, you have a high ticket offer where somebody comes in, they watch video content in regards to what you can do, what you can achieve, and then you essentially say, look, if you want this, also come in, book a call with me and my team. They come in and have a conversation with you, and then you close them on a one-to-one kind of closer way, right? I think that's really where the future is at the moment. Is people want more one-to-one quality service. They want more one-to-one connection, and they want to, and I think that's where there's huge value, a much more value given now, if that makes sense.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Now let's get to Shopify. So you said that you didn't like Amazon because it made you money. It was good. It was nice. But you didn't like because like it felt like it was still controlling you, right? I feel that as well too. So some of the businesses that I put my products on, for example, like eBay, right? I had a really bad experience with eBay. I had a product. I sold it over to the United States, and the person, he like, I send him all the pictures, I send him all the proof of the product. He says that the product is not accurate to the description, so he denies it. And then what happens is that product is like eBay refunds him the full amount, and they tell me that I have 5 days to respond, to ship him a label and stuff. And if I don't ship him a label, then he's gonna keep the product. So I didn't see the 5 day email. I didn't read it. So 5 days go by, and then I reach out to Amazon, to eBay, and tell them, hey, look, I'm sorry, it took longer. I wasn't able to. So he has the full price of the product. He's got a full refund. He has the product. I lost the money. I lost the product, and now they're also asking me to pay for a fee for selling products. So like I didn't have control of the product, right? Like I lost all of this and I have no say in it. So I see what you mean about Amazon too, not controlling your environment of selling products.
Yeah, no, like what ended up happening with me is I made like my first 100 grand, for example, right? And then came December time and kind of November, December, because of the Christmas scenario, it was expected for me to make, 5x sales, 5 to 10x sales that I was already making, right? So I went all in, right? I literally got that 100 grand that I made, my first 100 grand, and I bought stock, right? For as much product that I could buy. And then what ended up happening, the supply got it ready, started shipped it over to me. It's on its way. Then Amazon come to me and they say, you're banned, right? You're banned from selling from us, right? And this was one of the most scariest times in my life because I've worked months, I worked hard, I got my first breakthrough, and literally because of that one thing, I'm in a position where I could lose it all. And it was such a like silly thing. It was because one of my images had a bit of writing on it, and one of the policies that had changed was you're not allowed writing on it, for example, right? So literally I was for maybe 1 to 3 weeks just in depression, like, oh my God, I've lost everything. I was stressed, I had anxiety, I had everything under the sun, contacting Amazon, trying to fix it out. And finally, like they said, okay, fine, you can come in, and the product came through and I crushed it, right? But I realized at that point, like, I'm not in control here, yeah? And I've saw other people where a customer would, in a similar way, would make a complaint, and Amazon would just shut them down, right? So I think Amazon is still fine. It's good. There's, that's not a necessarily reason to avoid it. But what ended up happening is once I, like I said, I was crushing it with my businesses. I went into a partnership business that went south. I lost everything that I built. And then came the phase where I needed to rebuild. So that was when I thought, okay, do I go back into Amazon or do I go back into testing something else out, right? And I was considering the Amazon route, but then I had I was network. I remember going to an event that I was networking at, and uh, I networked at this event, and it was like I think Gary Vaynerchuk was there, and so forth, right? And I paid to be in the VIP area. I don't know why. It's one of those things again. Like the seat is £60, but I spent like 2,000 pounds to be in VIP. Like stupid waste of money, right? But ended up speaking to this kid that was like 17 years old. And he was crushing it on Shopify, 17-year-old doing 100K a month. And then when I was kind of going through this decision, he messaged me and he goes, look, I'm launching a course. Can you just do it and review it for me? And I was like, sure, like, why not? So I did it and I started seeing results from it. And I'm like, this is so much better. Like, I've got my own site. I'm not in a position where I need to spend thousands of pounds on stock, right? It's still automated like Amazon is, because I don't need to see the products or do any of the shipping. And it's a lot more risk free. And that's when I kind of made the decision, like, I'm going to go into this, I'm going to figure this out. And yeah, that was the start pretty much of that journey.
So that's amazing. You mentioned that, you paid for an event. Normally the price is $60, but you paid, the $1,000. And most people that paid the $60, right, like they're not excited to meet other people. And they might not be able to get that contact, right? So you said a lot of things, and I want to actually like break it down and specify how important that was. You said you spent $1,000, right? But you're
Probably
there,
more
you're
than that,
excited.
yeah.
And you actually met someone who actually you got a course from. So how did you meet him? Like, how did you guys connect? How did you guys become friends? And how was he able to actually trust you enough to give you a course to review?
So what ended up happening is, I think I've got this habit. I can't really stand. I sit a long time, so I was like standing and just walking around while the speaker was speaking. And there was like a Q&A section, so there was quite a few people standing. So he was standing in the Q&A section, and he just was next to me. So we ended up speaking. I think he approached me. We had a small conversation, and then he said to me, "Look, are you on Instagram?" So I said, "Yeah, I'm on Instagram." So then he added me on Instagram, and we spoke from there for a little while, after months after that, and that's when it kind of came about, right? So that's, yeah, so that's how we kind of built that relationship. Like, to be honest, I'm not very good at networking. I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm introvert, but I'm not somebody that just goes out and starts making loads of conversations and friends and stuff. But there's been times where I've gone like events and masterminds. I've gone to events and masterminds where I have spoken to somebody, and I have built spoken to somebody, built a relationship, right? And because of that, something huge has come out, right? So, for example, I went into a mastermind, a very high level mastermind, which I spent $80,000 to go into, right? It was a very high level mastermind, and at that time, I met somebody there and just became friends. Nothing major. Met him literally once or twice, but we kind of kept in contact. And I randomly reached out to him maybe a month or so ago, and I said, "How's it going?" He goes, "Look, it's going really well. I'm using this specific strategy, and he goes, you should try it out as well." So I tried this strategy out literally within the last month, and it's like crushed it. Like, I've with my business, I've spent £1,000 and made minimum £8,000 back, right? And that's just off the first month, and there's some extra residual there. So my point being is that, yes, I spent $80,000 on a program, but by just this one information this individual's given me, I'm going to make way more than 80,000 just because of that one strategy, right? So when it comes down to networking, you want to network with other people that are in the same game as you, of wanting to be successful in business, because they will try things and they will do things that literally you can learn off, and you can give them information and they can give you information. So definitely networking is a huge one. Same thing with this one. I may not have gone into Shopify e-commerce if it wasn't for me bumping into this 18-year-old kid, right? So yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that you're not even good at networking, but it's helping you so much, right?
Yeah.
How did you like have the mentality of actually spending, $80,000 for a mastermind, right? Some people don't even make that in a year, or maybe not are even able to save that in like 2 years, right? But you're willing to spend that money. How do you like mentally, how do you prepare yourself? Say, I'm gonna spend it, and it is going to be valuable for me. Not only 80,000, you're going to get more out of it.
I think for myself, like the problem with me is I like taking risks, okay? And there's been risks that I've taken, like I've said, that have got me to a position where I've lost everything. And there's risks that I've taken that have given me everything, right? So there was a friend of mine that I connected with, and he was a part of this mastermind. He recommended it, and I kind of just made the decision to go into it, right? And like the way I feel is this: like, when we're born into this world, we have nothing, right? We don't have nothing, we're zero, right? When we die, we have nothing, right? So really, can we lose anything? Do you see my point, right? Like the way I see it is, as long as you've got food, shelter, and clothing, you got to be willing to get out there and take risks, right? And it should be calculated risk. Like I try to have a bit of a calculated risk and then have a gut feeling. And then that gut kind of emotional state just says, let's do it, right? And I've got that kind of mindset to say, let's do it, let's go out there and I like to push myself as much as I can, right? And there's been bad decisions I've made and there's been good decisions. And I've made the worst decisions that have caused massive loss and pain, but I've survived it, right? And I feel that really, you're going to survive anything you face. I don't think you're ever going to be in a position where you're going to be homeless, right? So yeah, I've invested 500,000 into things and lost it, put it that way, right? So I've made bad decisions, but I've survived, and I've been in a position where I've built $2 million businesses and lost everything, and then had to build it back up again. Do you see, right? So point being is, I think I'm a lot more wiser to my decisions now. Maybe when I was a bit more younger, I was maybe a bit more haphazard to just go into things. But I just have a feeling where like I wanna be the best. I wanna just go out there and I wanna really push myself. I'm not gonna hold myself back, right? If I wanna really push myself, if I make a decision, go at it 110%. If it fails, it fails. I'll survive one way or another. So I'm not gonna be homeless. I've gone through the experience of losing everything. So what worse can I face, right? I've gone through, the journey of having huge loss, going through anxiety, going through depression, going through stress. I've been in the worst positions I had in life, and I got myself out of it. It took me 1-2 years to do that. So I'm really in a position where I've built a thicker skin for me to just go in and make decisions and just be like, I'll figure it out. And I think you need to start building that, the listeners need to start building that muscle, that when opportunities come, take them, okay, and not have the fear of loss, and just tell yourself that at the end of the day, you've come with nothing, you're going to leave with nothing, there's nothing to lose, but the only thing you can lose is your time and the amount that you can achieve in this time that you've been given. So don't play small, play big, and really go out there to achieve the most you can. Does that make sense?
Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I've noticed that before COVID actually started, the prices of stocks were really low. Something that's really jumped up is Shopify. It was like, like very low. And then right now it's like trading at like $1,400. Yeah. And you just mentioned you got into Shopify. So, what has Shopify done for you that was different from Amazon?
I think one of the reason why it's increased is because e-commerce is booming, right? Because of the COVID situation, right? Like people don't want to buy don't want to go to the stores anymore, right? Because of COVID and there's lockdowns, so everybody has now become the norm now to buy online. So I think that's one of the reasons why there's a huge boost in e-commerce right now. It was growing beforehand, and I think COVID really just put gas on the fire, basically, right? And I think like what it done for me is again, same thing with the Amazon side. It allowed me to build that foundation of a business for me to sell online and make money online selling physical products, right? But in a way that again, I feel that you're in control more and there's less risk. And I tell you one thing, like and I'll give you a bit of a story, right? And I'll just to kind of explain how it kind of works. You get, I think I can't remember which company it was. There was a company that opened a shoe store and they sold so many pairs of shoes, but they didn't have any in stock, right? So what would happen is that somebody would come in, they would say, I want to buy that shoe. They would go to the till and the lady or the man would say, I'm sorry, we don't have it in stock, but give us your name, your number, and when we have it in stock, we'll give it to you and we'll give it to you at a discounted price, right? But what they were doing is they were gathering data to see which product sells the most, which color sells the most, and which size sells the most, and then they will put their money behind that, right? So it was kind of wise investing essentially, right? And that's how essentially e-commerce works with the dropshipping model, where you can test 30 products and you can see where the money's, which product is selling the most, and put all your attention there so that you can start growing that to making a lot of money and selling at a global level within, and within literally a couple of weeks, right? And scaling it really at a high level, at the tens of thousands level, right? So I think it's streamlined. It's a kind of dream business model because it gives you that ability to just make money from the internet wherever you are. It gives you that time freedom. It gives you that money freedom, and it's a kind of business that it just works like clockwork without you having to do a lot of work, and you enjoy the process of finding new products and launching new products and seeing that grow. It's a very fulfilling kind of feeling, if that makes sense.
Right. So thank you for making actually once again very simple step 1, 2, 3, right? Like most people that are getting into entrepreneurship, right? They try to create something brand new that maybe it hasn't been tested, right? And then they need to test it on their own. What I love about the way you're explaining it is like there's already an audience. They have a need already. Find out what their need is and try to tweak it afterward, but find out what they want right now, what there's the crowd of people going to it first, okay, and then try to create a product that might be a bit different from it. That's much simpler and easier.
Yeah, and I tell you, like, I've seen people that have spent tens of thousands into a product, right? They've spent tens of thousands into a product. They've even got themselves into debt by loaning to develop a product, and then they can't sell it, right? They got all excited. They had a vision. I love this vision. I remember a lady created some teaching product around the body or something like that, spent 50,000, and then came to me, is like, I can't sell this product, right? And I'm like, why did you do that? I don't launch products now. Like I launch products at the minimalist risk, and then from there, put my money where the money is going to be made. Do you see my point? So if you're in a position where you're excited, oh, I could make a lot of money with this product, let me spend, like I've seen people saying, I'm spending thousands of pounds on logos and branding and this, that. They're not even profitable yet. The product that I made that made my first million in sales, that the vegetable slicer, the logo was a logo from Fiverr. I spent $5 on it, right? Right? Like, Pete, don't be a perfectionist. Just get out there and launch products and make money. That's where you really want to focus on, like quick money. And one of the things is that I focus on that's very different to a lot of people that do this whole drop shipping business. And it's a big problem in this industry is everyone just going online and basically, like, most of the courses that are there on YouTube videos are saying, here's a bunch of products that are doing well, go and launch them, right? Or invest into this spy tool that shows you all the winning products that are out there. But what ends up happening is you've got thousands of people looking at the same products, launching the same products, okay? And there's a huge amount of competition. That's why there's a high failure rate with people following that. That's what I call the copycat method of finding products and launching products. What I do is I have a model called the pioneer model. And what that does is when I'm analyzing a product, I focus on new products that no one else has launched yet, right? So I have a certain criteria of the type of products that I want to sell, and I make sure that they're fairly new products. And then I test a bunch of those. And in that way, when I'm launching products, I don't need to worry about competition, and I'm ahead of the game compared to everyone else that is doing this business.
Okay. Would you say it's a bit risky to start new products because like you have to test your own money and you haven't seen an audience already that's already buying it?
No, so it's not as risky as you think. And the reason why is, first and foremost, it needs to match certain criteria, right? So there's a certain criteria of a certain criteria a product needs to have for it to be considered what we call a winning profitable product, right? So number one, it needs to have a kind of wow factor to it. Like, it needs to grab somebody's attention. And the reason why is because you're selling on social media, right? This isn't like Amazon where they need something simple, right? That you're selling something that is really going to grab their attention. They're scrolling and they're like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. I've never seen that. So they're like, okay, they grab that attention, right? So you're like, you've got their attention. So then from there, then you've got to stimulate them to buy and make that quick decision. So number one, it has to grab their attention. It has to have a bit of a wow factor to it. Number two is it should be a high perceived value product. So a lot of people in this business, they just sell really cheap, gimmicky looking products. I focus on high quality, premium looking products, right? And the third element is that when there's a margin, it needs to have at least a $30 margin behind it. Because when you're selling on paid ads, you're going to pay, $15 to $20 for a customer, right? So it needs at least a $30 margin behind it. So there's a foundational criteria there that I'm looking at when I'm analyzing products. And then what I want to do is I want to look at products that have a good, like, you're not just shooting in the dark, you've got a bit of an understanding, right? So for example, you're looking for some kind of trends as well. So for example, since COVID and the lockdown, some niches that went really well were, for example, home fitness products, home, because everyone needs to work out from home, gyms are closed, home office because they're not going to the office anymore, right? Home decor, people are wanting to improve the quality in their house because they're at home, right? So home decor products did really well, whereas other niches, for example, travel, right? The travel industry went down, so travel products didn't do really well. So that's gone down. Maybe selling smart shoes, for example, doesn't work as well because people are not going to events and weddings because of the lockdown. So you have to have a bit of an understanding on what's working, and then going broad, going kind of horizontal to test out as many products as you can, and then seeing where the data is showing what has the best potential, and that's where you focus on taking your attention to, right? And there's a lot like kids learning, for example, schools were shut, right? Homeschool learning. So it's not as and what I tend to do is I look at past products that have done very well, okay, and then I find similar and new versions of that product, right? So I do focus on products that have a bit of kind of proof that yes, this is a product that has some potential to do very well, and I'm not just shooting in the dark, basically.
Wow. Thank you for dropping that knowledge. Honestly, that was so well, said. Just amazing how, you answer that. So thank you so much for that. Now, I want to talk about, so I've seen, your Instagram, right? You don't post a lot of things, but I have noticed a couple of things on your Instagram page. And that's why I reached out to you, because I did feel like, you had the type of success or what you were doing at your age, right? It was something that my audience would really benefit from, right? So one of the things that I saw you were doing was you were doing a mastermind, and it was in Dubai, and it was on I forget what floor. It was like a pretty high floor, and it was in an apartment. And basically what you were doing is you were in a very small circle, and people would come up, they would explain their business problems, and then you and other people would also provide them with tips and coaching. So tell us about that. Tell us what that is, and what that experience is, and how and why you do that.
Got it. Okay. So when it comes down to your learning and development, there's certain things that you can do, right? So number one is you can buy a course. Another thing that you can do is buy a kind of coach, get a coach to kind of coach you. There's more one-to-one. And then there's events that you can go to. And then the other one is to do masterminds, okay? And what a mastermind essentially is where you're in a group of people that are in maybe entrepreneurs, they're really successful, they've got some results. However, everyone has a challenge or a problem in their business, okay? And what the idea is, and then what the understanding is, that there is somebody in that group that knows the answer, the solution to that problem. Do you see my point, right? So there's somebody that may have already faced that problem and that can give you feedback and guidance, and you're going to get feedback from different people's perspectives on how to build your business, go through those obstacles and scale it to the next level. So there's different masterminds that people can go through. This was one of the masterminds that I went to. And essentially, that is where the value is, where you're in a network of people that are in business or in a similar niche or whatever the case is, and you share each other's what is going well, and you share exactly what isn't going well and how to kind of fix and resolve those problems, right? So that is the value of a mastermind, that you can come in and really get huge value from the people that are within it. Does that make sense?
Right. So in a mastermind, like when you come in, right, like does that mean you're showing everything about your business, like all the numbers, how you're doing well, what you're doing bad, where you lost money, where you did well money, and are other people doing the same thing in this small group?
Yeah, exactly. So you want to be as explicit with your business as possible and be as open and transparent. And that's where you're going to get really the best feedback, right? So there's different type of masterminds that are out there. Like the one thing that is kind of different from a mastermind compared to, something general is like, there's a difference between being in a group of people that are, for example, just interested in doing business. And there's difference between being with a group of people that have all built $1 million businesses. Do you see my point, right? So that is the idea, getting yourself with those people that are at the highest level so that you get that high level support and feedback type of thing. What was the question again? What was the exact question?
Yeah, people are showing everything, right? Like they're showing their...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're being as transparent as possible with their business, and that's where you're kind of going to get the best value and feedback from there. Yeah.
Okay. And like this commitment for a mastermind, you said everyone needs to be, for example, a millionaire to get in?
No, so to be honest, there's different masterminds out there. So for example, this one was the $80,000 mastermind that I was part of, right? But there's other ones that are there and available out there. So for example, ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson, I believe, has some level of mastermind. You'll have other individuals, pretty much anybody that's out there offering a service will often have a mastermind that goes with it, where their best students and members can come in, and it's at a high level where you get that high level kind of support, if that makes sense, right? So different masterminds will have a different criteria for you to get in, but essentially most of the time it's a matter of can you afford it or not, right? And normally they're at more of a higher price point, can be in the tens of thousands, to join one of these masterminds.
Okay, all right. So is that like a country that you really enjoy going to and meeting people there?
Yeah, I think everyone generally likes going to Dubai, but I think I've traveled around to different countries, and it's different countries have their different pros and cons, and you enjoy different environments and surroundings. I think one thing that that's really interesting about Dubai is like when you're on top of the Burj Khalifa, which is the biggest building in the world, and they have these machines where you can kind of zoom in and see what things are from the top. And if I remember correctly, there's a setting to see what everything looked like maybe 10 to 20 years ago. So there was a point where it was just desert, right? It's just a pure desert. And somebody at some point in time came and said, I have a vision for this country, and this is what I want to build. I want to build the best city there is on this earth, right? And that's what I really like about the country, is the vision that, it inspires me to remind myself to say, look, where am I going to be in 10, 20 years? What can I build? And really having developing a really visionary type of mindset, if that makes sense.
Okay. I just remembered a question that I had about you traveling to China and going and visiting the suppliers. Why did you feel like you had to do that? Actually meet and see the product itself and fly in person.
So there was actually another mastermind there, funny enough. So there's another individual who created a mastermind group where he was doing certain teaching, and then he had experience in going out and experience what the Canton Fair was, and actually arranged for us to go to factories and how to deal with that scenario and situation. So it was a really interesting experience, really opened my mind into what is out there in the world and what's available out there. So that was the main reason, and I took a huge amount from there, just that experience. And I think once you have established yourself in e-commerce, it's very nice to then go and visit the Canton Fair, obviously because of COVID, and obviously everyone wants to wait for those issues to be resolved. But definitely going to trade fairs and going to events like that, open your mind up and come up with different opportunities and possibilities for you.
Okay, awesome, man. So you join a lot of masterminds. Now we're not traveling as much, right? So you're able to scale, more and more on e-commerce and making money online. So does that mean you're saving more money, or are you like still investing more money?
So to be honest, I haven't traveled quite a lot even before. And what I've realized is my money that I invest into like training and masterminds and events has become more minimal. And that's kind of a personal decision because I want to just focus on, I know what I need to do. Here's my plan. Let me take action on that. And if I do need to invest on something, then it will be really focused on improving my plan essentially, right? So traveling wise, I've kind of limited at this moment. I'm kind of connecting with people on videos and social media and stuff like that. But in regards to saving, I think definitely I think the COVID situation has allowed me to not spend as much. You don't go out as much, you don't travel as much. And really for me, it's just about just building the businesses at the high levels and the goals that I'm wanting it to go to. And then from there, focusing on like, to be honest, I wouldn't consider myself an investor. I have invested in the past into different things like properties and other aspects. But for me, it's I want to just focus more on increasing more higher cash flow, and then maybe focus on really mastering one domain when it comes down to investing, which is maybe property or something, and then that kind of gives me that long term wealth and that generational wealth that I can then pass down basically.
Okay, so in your opinion, if you got money, you're not putting it into like a property because you feel like you can make more money by creating a business and using that to.
Yes, exactly. All the money that I've got is just I'm reinvesting into the business right now, right? Like yeah, so like just keeping life simple, easy, and just keep reinvesting into the business. That's where I am right now.
Right. I love that strategy, like, so for you, your opinion is real estate is more of a long-term game that you can have consistent cash flow, but you feel like you can get way more cash flow from businesses.
I believe so, yeah. Like, and I think especially for a lot of people starting off, again, they need that cash cow. They need that one thing that blasts them and gives them a lot of money, and then allows them to bring that stability of a high level money, and then they can kind of focus on investing into, in things that they want to invest into. But for me, I want to reinvest into getting my businesses at a certain point, and then that time will come for me to say, all right, let me focus on a vehicle, and maybe I could do it simultaneously. But I think it's just a matter of me just where do I want to put my mind and my energy at this moment, because like when I invested even in property, I did that with somebody else, right, and they were in control, whereas I want to figure things out for myself. So maybe that's where I will get to at some point.
All right, Haroon. So thank you so much. In this episode, we talked about so many things about like, mindset, thinking about money, how to use it, right? We talked about, like getting money, having it for expenses, but more focusing on, saving money so you can invest into a business, into properties, or, whichever thing that you're more focused on. We talked about e-commerce. So it was just amazing, like me personally, right? Like I wasn't very wealthy. I was working at a job, and I started saving money and investing, and slowly I was able to get to six figures. And I write about the experience in my book, right? And the reason I was able to learn is from people like Haroon, right? They focus on saving to invest so that they can keep more money and it can keep growing, and not focusing on more of our expenses. So I love that you shared everything that I was able to learn from other wealthy people as well. And we broke it down in a very simple process, right? He talked about how he started his business and Amazon FBA. He talked about Shopify. He talked about how he was saving money already before starting talking about all these businesses. So you guys, you need to save money so that you can put it into something so it grows. So this is just another example. Haroon was a very successful person, right? And he's not even in Canada, he's not even in the United States, he's from a different country and he's still doing it. So I really appreciated him sharing his secrets, right? I felt like talking to you is like, as like I like to keep my episodes as I'm talking to a friend, and I feel like we did this in this episode, and we shared the experiences, the secrets, the tips with the audience.
Yeah, 100%, man. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. So, guys, you guys know that I love giving you guys value, teaching you, giving tips to you guys from me, from the speaker. So, what I'm doing different right now is I ask a special question. And if you listen to the podcast, I do it in every single episode. But now what I'm doing differently is you guys will get the video format on YouTube, so you'll be able to get this interview. But the next question that I'm going to ask, and it is the most favorite question that I like, and also you guys like this question as well, but I will not be putting it on YouTube anymore. So if you want to hear the answer to this, and I'm going to be saying the question very soon, you need to listen to the podcast either on iTunes, Spotify, or any other platform. But if you want the answer, you will be listening to the podcast only by audio. So Haroon, this is my last question, and I want to ask you, I want you to imagine you go in your house, okay? And currently, do you live in an apartment or do you live in a house?
A house.
Okay, so you live in the house, right? So you go in the house, you go into the basement, and there's a wall in the basement. You put your hand there, it reads your hand as a fingerprint, and there's a door that opens. You walk into the door. There's a lock there. Only you have access to this lock. So you put in a key, you turn the lock, it opens. So the second door opens. You walk in and there's a safe there. In that safe, it has another lock. It's a combination. You put in the combination, you turn it around, and that safe opens up. Okay. You go inside the safe. There's one document in that safe. Now, if you were not on this planet, and you were to leave behind, some tips, some strategies for your family, maybe for your wife, maybe when your kids, grew up, they were to look at this document, right? And with this document, you would leave behind tips, strategies, things to focus on that would help them get successful. Now that is in life, but also in business, mostly in business. What are the tips, the strategies? What would you put on that one document that would allow them to be successful? And guys, remember, I asked this question, but you can only get this answer in audio in the podcast. So Haroon, the stage is yours.
Got it. It's a very deep question.